Hey guys, how's it going today? I want to take a couple minutes to show you how I landed this helicopter in this confined area. So today's exercise is confined areas. Let me show you. Alright you guys, so where we're at right now is we just arrived at the spot and we're in our high reconnaissance. So the high reconnaissance is considered to be whatever altitude you reach the spot at. So now we've reached it and we're about 500 feet above the spot. So we're going to take a quick look at it, and the first thing we're going to look at is suitability. That's about the only thing you're going to look at from up here. You can also check if there's any good wind signs. So one quick look at this spot tells me it's suitable and it's worth a second look. So we're going to descend back down. And we're going to go down to about 2 to 3 times treetop height, or about 200 or 300 feet off of our spot. So we're going to continue our orbit. Now, when we're starting an orbit, we want to slow the helicopter down to about 40 to 50 knots. Depending on the aircraft, sometimes you'll be a little faster, maybe about 60. And we're starting to look at this spot a little more carefully now as we get closer. So as we come around, we're taking a look at the size, the shape, slope, the surface, surroundings, the snags, sunshade, wind, wires, and power. Those are all the different things we're going to be taking a look at. In this specific spot, I'm looking at the road, the logging road. I think that's going to be a great spot to land on. So it's fairly narrow, but it's long. I want to see if there's going to be any slope that's a concern on that spot. So I'll look at that a little better as we get down a little bit lower. But the overall area is quite large. There's trees all around, obviously. It looks to be longer than it is wide, so I'm going to come in from one of the two ends to be able to make a little bit of a better approach. I'm looking also around on the sides of the road, so there seems to be some piles of sticks and brush and so forth, so I'll make sure that my tail rotor is not going to be sticking off the side of the road, get too close to that, and also that the piles aren't too high for my rotor blades to get in the way. So those are going to be a couple of the main things. Once we're done looking at the spot, we're going to come down and we're going to shoot what's called a dummy approach. So the dummy approach is where we come in and we come down to treetop height, and we want this approach to feel almost exactly like the real approach. So we're coming by our spot. Now when we're coming towards it on approach, we want to slow the helicopter down to about 25 knots. So 25 knots is just before you lose effective translational lift. When you come over top of your spot, it gives you one more opportunity to take a nice close look and see if there's anything different than what you saw earlier. And then you're going to pull in to maximum power. So you're going to, if it's a torque meter, you're going to pull into 100% torque. If it's a manifold pressure gauge, you're going to pull into the maximum allowable manifold pressure, and you're going to see how the helicopter reacts. So how is the climb rate? Does the climb rate seem to be sufficient for what you're going to need? Are you going to be able to climb out of that spot and make it back out of there? If you feel happy with the way the winds felt and the approach angle and everything seemed good, then you can come back around for the final landing. So we're going to come around, we're going to set that approach up now, and we're going to do our final approach into landing. And we're looking at the surrounding area, making sure that everything's nice and clear, and we're going to come in as shallow as we can. So we're coming in down past the trees, getting in nice and close, and as we come in that last 100 feet, this is the most critical part of the entire approach. We want to make sure that we're taking our time, that we're looking all around, and we're really picking up that last bit of information. You can figure out so much about your confined area just in that last little bit of the approach, making sure that you're not going to put the tail up a slope, and finding exactly where you're putting the skids down. We always want to think about flying the tail rotor into our spot. So just imagining your tail rotor as you're coming in for landing, and you want to make sure that the tail rotor has a nice, safe, flat, open area to come in and land, and then move forward about 30 feet or so. That's where you're going to put your skids down, and making sure that you have a nice space for your skids as well, and they're on a nice flat ground. Once you've done that, once you get into your spot, you can maneuver around if you need to. So if you're still not 100% sure on the slope and everything, you can pedal turn the helicopter, do a little bit of maneuvering, and make sure that you've picked the ideal spot to land, and then you can go ahead and land. Now you're ready for your departure, so we're going to think about 3 things. So departure path, power, and radio, DPR. So departure path, figure out what the most efficient spot is to get out of here. Powered, you can check that in the hover, make sure you still have enough sufficient power to get out of there. And in radio, it's a good idea to do a radio call when you're in a confined area, just to make sure that there's no traffic around that you can't see. So once you're done those three things, you look around and see, is there any space that you can use in this confined area to help you get out of there with the least amount of power? So in this spot, we actually have a bit of room on this road, so we're going to move ourselves all the way over to the end of the road, and then we're going to turn the helicopter around, and we're going to use the maximum amount of space to fly the helicopter out of here. Away we go, we fly out, we can use a minimum amount of power, and away you fly. Once you clear the trees, you can go ahead and accelerate, gain your speed, and that's how you do a confined area. If you want to know how to find this spot, you can look here on the map, and this is the location right here.